So today we are grooming Leo. Leo is 4 years old. He is a rescue and he is a mega mutt, a mix of pretty much everything. We're not entirely sure what you are. He does have a little bit of matting, mostly just compacted fur. And for once, I am grooming a dog on the smaller side. That's a nice change. Now, I get a lot of messages from people looking for grooming appointments, and a lot of people have asked how I book my appointments. Like, what criteria does the dog or cat need to fall under in order for me to groom them? So the animals that get priorities are obviously rescues, animals that are up for adoption. Maybe the Humane Society or local rescues reach out trying to get them some form of advertisement so we can help them to get adopted. Then, of course, I will do dogs and cats that are in really poor shape and desperately need grooming for the health and well-being of the animal. And then I usually prioritize rare breeds or just different breeds that maybe I haven't had on the channel before. That goes for dogs and cats. And the reason why I prioritize that is simply for educational purposes, so I can teach the audience a little bit about the breed. And that way, when people make the decision to get a pet, they maybe make a little bit more of an informed decision because they know a little bit more about the breed that they originally were looking to get and whether or not it'll work for them and their family. And then I prioritize puppies and kittens for their first grooming. And the reason why I do that is, number one, it's cute, it's cheerful, it's fun for the audience to watch. Everybody loves a puppy and kitten. And then it also is a bit educational, teaching people how I work with animals that are getting groomed for the first time and exactly what I do. What I don't do is prioritize people that can't afford grooming, and that's not because I don't want to help people. I want to just put that out there. It has nothing to do with that. It's because it's really hard for me to know whether or not somebody is telling me the truth about their financial situation, right? So if people just don't want to pay for their pet's grooming and they want to get a free grooming, they might message me and say, I can't afford it. Can you please groom my pet for free, right? But those could just be people that simply don't want to spend the money on it. So it's hard for me to know who's telling the truth, who isn't. That's not really how I prioritize grooming for that reason. I have had vets, for example, reach out to me and say to me, their client can't afford grooming and the dog or cat needs grooming. And that's a little bit different because the vets kind of know more of their financial situation because they know their client, right? So in those cases, yes, I would take the animal on for that purpose. But otherwise, it's really hard for me to tell. I'm not going to ask people to prove their situation to me, right? I wouldn't ask people to prove that because that would be, well, none of my business and kind of rude. So I wouldn't do that. But anyways, I get a lot of messages from people saying, I can't afford grooming. Can you book my pet in? And if you don't receive a response from me, I can't respond to everybody because I get way too many messages. That's probably why. So just giving everybody a little bit more information on how I book pets in. And then of course I work with animals that have behavioral issues that have been turned away from other groomers as well. That's another priority. So when you see dogs like this that are pretty, well, good for grooming and they're not in super rough shape and stuff like that, that's usually just because I can't gauge the necessity of grooming via a photo. Not that I don't want to groom this dog. Like, this is going to be such an easy groom and it's going to be so quick for me and a very relaxing experience. So trust me, this is a lot easier for me to do than the more difficult cases. But a dog like this, like, she sent me photos saying that he was matted and stuff. And I really couldn't tell by the photos how bad it was. So I just booked her in, if that's the case of the animal, but he's in pretty good shape. I'm not saying this because I'm upset in any way about having to groom this dog. I'm only saying it because sometimes people will contact me saying, well, if that's your criteria, then why did you groom this dog? Or if that's your criteria, why did you groom this cat? And oftentimes it's just because I just couldn't tell by the photos whether or not the pet really needed to be groomed. So it's not me choosing somebody else's pet over yours. It's just sometimes it can be hard to figure out whether or not the pet fits my criteria, if that makes sense. Okay, you're being a very good boy. I think you're gonna be a really easy groom today. Nice break from all of the, I've been doing so many really big, hairy, matted dogs lately and some cats that have been a bit unruly and or in poor condition, so this is a nice little break from all of that. You are shedding quite a bit of hair though. Look how much hair is in the bottom of this tub. Turn, 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 turn. Turn, turn, turn. Oh, oh. It stayed down though. Okay, so he's in the belly band because he seems to be very unsure about being on the table. And sometimes when they're unsure about being on the table, they'll kind of do this weird starfish thing, like they forget how their legs work, and then they can fall off the table. So even though he was standing for me, no problem, I just think he'll be a little bit more secure if he has 2 straps on him rather than 1. Okay, you're gonna dry pretty fast. Good boy. Okay, let's shave out some of your mats. And spray you in some leave-in conditioner. So this dog has only been here for a half hour and I've already bathed and dried him. He has a horrific coat, and what I mean by that is you see all these little pin mats he got. He got this from blow drying, but this is like, see how they come out really, really easily. This is just a really, I don't know if I want to call it a spay coat, neuter coat, whatever. He's a male, he's neutered. The change in hormones sometimes leaves this, like it's soft like purdy soft, like my cat, very, very soft. But the undercoat gets stuck under it, almost like he has been shaved in the past, and I don't know, maybe he has been shaved in the past. It's just not a very nice coat, although you are a nice dog. All right, let's brush you out. Good boy. He has some mats under here. These ones are pretty tight to the skin here. So over here. Are you stressed? I won't take any treats. I've tried. Not take anything from strangers. All right, let's see what happens with the EquiGroomer. Yeah, I had a feeling it was going to work well on this coat type. Good boy, buddy. I know you really want to sit, I think, or you just want out of this belly band. Okay, I am going to keep brushing, but I need to do the paws first. Okay, she warned me not to trim the back nails because the quicks are very, very long and he bleeds easily. So I am just going to trim the hair first. Stay. Good boy. Stay. Gotta stay. No, you gotta stay. All right. Now the question is, do I trim your ears? Do I trim your ears? I don't know if I should. I don't think I'm going to trim those ears because I would have to do quite a bit of trimming and it will change the look of his face. And the owners didn't tell me that they wanted the ears trimmed, so I'm not going to go ahead and trim them. But they are nice and brushed out. See, like this fluff here? It's not very appealing coat texture, not visually, but for grooming wise, it gets very easily tangled. His top line is shorter, and that's why it's shedding more than the rest of him. I'm going to spray you down. All right. Well, if you guys liked this video, don't forget that I do all of my grooms complimentary, and the best way that you can support me is by hitting that follow or subscribe button and sharing with all of your friends. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you again in a few days. You want to go home? Want to go in the car? Want to go for a walk? Yeah, I think that's a yes.